Milkshake Part 3, Concubine Exegesis. In Part 2, we addressed if you are embodying feminine energy, why would many boys be attracted to that energy? When majority of boys are not operating in their manhood to even have a taste for divine nature. Further questioning our observation of our society and what these men are attracted to, what they uplift, what they watch, who they honor. Thus concluding they have limited divine feminine to that of a concubine. Swiping left in modern terms, if you will, on high intelligence or wisdom. Their main concern is, can she submit? Can she cook? Can she clean? Bear children? Have sex whenever and however they like, and say it was satisfying even if it wasn't for her. End of recap. At the time of me writing down these reflections, it is 8:08 on the clock, May 23rd, 2024. A quick disclaimer before we go into any of the analysis of the concubine. This message is not for all. I repeat, this message is not for all. Let's go. According to Edmond Online, concubine in the 1300s is a paramour, a woman who cohabits with a man without being married to him. Also in reference to Hebrew, Greek, Roman, and other civilizations where the position was recognized by law, a wife of inferior condition, a secondary wife from Latin concubina, feminine, and concubinus, masculine, one who lives unmarried with a married man or woman. It goes further on to say, usually in Rome, the concubine was of lower social order, but the institution, though below matrimonium, was less reproachful than adultery, I believe they mean, or stuprum. I didn't look up that word. The word itself is from concubire, to lie with, to lie together, to cohabit, from a simulated form of come with together. See con dash plus cucubere, which is to lie down, right? To lie down, right? So it's understandable why most think of a woman who has sex with a man outside or without a marriage license. Some even go as far to attribute this word to side chick or a husband's mistress. However, this is not the meaning applied here. Okay? Interesting enough, the meaning is provided in the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language, 5th edition, actually listed as number 8 out of the 9 meanings listed for the word concubine. A woman attached to a man solely for reproduction and who cares for the resulting children without any romantic relationship. I repeat, a woman attached to a man solely for reproduction and who cares for the resulting children without any romantic relationship. And this being without any romantic relationship speaks to the unequally yoked and not joined together by the Most High, or divine connections, if you will, which take place by way of energy divinely orchestrated by divine union taking place within the individual. When the divine feminine knows her authentic self by tapping into source, attracting the divine masculine is a consequence of that inner work. Hence, the yoke equal and togetherness is divine. A divine masculine is not attracted by a karmic feminine because having become aware of his divine nature, of divinity, he isn't drawn by the nature of work that pertains to the 3D or physical plane. A karmic feminine advertises because she is codependent when she subscribes to patriarchal philosophy. Having been reduced to the physical body, so terms like pick me is befitting because she is unaware of her divine nature. We do not see the zygote race to the sperm, soliciting her value to each as to beg for their fertilization. Even so, a divine feminine, for reasons previously mentioned in Milkshake Part 1 and 2, does not request a divine masculine to make her his girl or his wife, nor does a divine masculine attribute a divine feminine's ability to attract him to meeting the duties of a concubine, i.e., barefoot, pregnant, cooking, cleaning, child rearing, basically the nature of work in the 3D. This man has cultivated, too, much discipline in focusing on his awareness of his divinity to be impressed by those things because they were not the source to his awakening. I repeat, the man who is a divine masculine has cultivated too much discipline in focusing on his awareness of his divinity to be impressed by those things because they were not the source to his awakening. He would be more concerned with her emotional intelligence and well-being, understanding its importance or precedence or affluence over every aspect of her life. Now, it would be understandable why a karmic masculine would be put off by a feminine who could not meet his needs in the flesh because operating in his lower nature, he is in survival mode, having yet to tap into source to become aware of his divinity. He would be the type to be drawn to a karmic feminine, advertising her best traits for the picking, and being in survival mode will trade up to sustain that 3D sense of security. Hence their attitude to find someone, quote unquote, better to fulfill those 3D needs when his current karmic does not. And he will play on her unawareness and ignorance of knowledge of herself because being in a pick-me state of mind, she will find herself competing with the others, whom he has brought to her attention to teach her to submit, because she doesn't see that she is out of divine order to begin with, having attributed masculine to feminine's ability to attract. And we're going to stop right there. I'm pretty sure there was more reflections here. Sometimes I do get downloads very quickly, and I don't have the time to write them down. Sometimes I will let them just flow through me because energy is energy. I know that, whether or not it's being able to share it with somebody, it's still here, just like I'm still here. Just because nobody sees me on social media or hears of me on social media doesn't mean that I'm not here on this planet. So that's the same way I see the energy that flows through me when I get these particular downloads. Sometimes I just have to, let it flow. And it in turn feeds me because it is for me, first and foremost, right? It's for my awareness and because of the work that I'm doing within myself. But like I said, I'm going to stop there. And I know there's more because I'm just going back to when I did have this particular download and when it was flowing for me. I'm literally going back and writing down the reflections that came to me at that time, and trying to package it together, if you will, to share it with the collective divine feminines or whatever feminines, are welcome. You know what I mean? We're all on our personal journeys to, gain knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of ourselves. And so every one of us are not on the same level, if you will, are not at the same, points in our growth. So like I said, you're welcome to listen, but at the same time, like I said before in the disclaimer, this message is not for all. I know those who have an ear to hear will hear it. Those who don't, won't. It doesn't mean that, that you will not understand this one day. nor does it diminish what we understand at this time. So I just want to say thank you for listening, and until next time, be blessed.
So, continuing on with my reflections, I am led to, define romanticism. But before I do this, I was reminded of the portion of the definition that brought to our attention a concubine is lying down with a man solely for reproduction, right? And so I was led to list examples of this that come to my mind as a result of this explanation, right? Lying down with a man solely for reproduction. What does that remind us of? Legacy, right? You hear a lot of people talk about that legacy. It's about, carrying on the bloodline, right? Coming together for social status because of the accumulation of things that could happen as a result of two versus one person doing things on their own. Moral status, of course, the moral code, of being chaste, clean, all these words that have to do with religious, like you think of virgins and all this other stuff. So one step after, if you're not a virgin, the next best thing would be to be one who was married a virgin, right? And who lost her virginity in a partnership that was sanctioned by the state or governments with a license to marry, right? Or just simply for the sake of partnership, right? Business, right? You hear a lot of people talk like that, business. So, so going back to the romanticism thing, right? We even see the main word in that word is Roman. So I'm being told rather than use romanticism, use intimacy, right? Replace that, what was said earlier, with intimacy or into me see. We see each other, right? As a result of us having a divine union take place within us, tapping into source, becoming one with source, understanding where our source lies, and then being able to correctly identify that in someone else who's doing the same, right? Or to attract that as a divine feminine, to attract that to you, because that's what feminine energy does. Okay? So a concubine doesn't care about intimacy, right? Sex is strictly for reproduction and meeting man's sexual needs in exchange for assistance that is believed that could not otherwise be obtained by oneself, right? You hear this a lot. Even when you read about stories in the canon, like in Old Testament, and just the way people were doing things in other countries, and still to this day, it's about dowry and preparing one's daughter for marriage, to be married off to. It's like a business exchange, right? And oftentimes we see the stories, or we hear the stories of our grandmothers, our great-great-grandmothers, our grandfathers who may have had the story. Many can testify to this if they listen to this at the foot of their elders, talking about these things, where they said, I can't just marry for the sake of marriage, when they were being forced into these business deals, if you will, because they didn't really have a connection with that person they're being told to join with by way of those over them, whether it be their mom, their dad, their grandma, whoever, their guardian, whoever's taking care of them. They would push them, especially the women, into this these unions for the sake of business. Okay, this wasn't about intimacy, right? So when the end goal is just business, it makes sense as to why women fix their mouth to say, I don't care about what he does, right? Or who he does it with or to. So long as he is taking care of me and my children, if we have them, I'm good. This is the anthem that you hear a lot of women speak, right? And then they go, which gives them the incentive to boast about being the quote unquote main, right? And like I said earlier, the definition that I shared wasn't the definition that I was using in my Milkshake episode, right? That's not the definition that I was referring to, but I'm very well aware that is common, people's common, especially women's common understanding of what a concubine is, right? They often think of the mistress, the side chick, right? Or the lesser of the two wives, right? If you're in a polygamous relationship, right? The idea is better to be a concubine, or what I would like to say, the imagined wife, than to be a divine connection that is a direct manifestation of the union with source that has taken place within oneself. So, furthermore, I went in and got the definition of concubine, just by doing a random search on Safari, right? And what came up, I believe, is the Oxford Dictionary. And it says historical. In polygamous societies, a woman who lives with a man but has lower status than his wife or wives. So the wife right here, you just look at the definition, wasn't necessarily the woman who lived with the man. Here, historically, the concubine was the woman who lived with the man, but has a lower status than his wife. Or maybe it's possible that all of them live with him, but they're just ranking this thing like they do with the hierarchy and saying, hey, she's the top wife, right? Then it's this one, then it's this one, then it's this one, however you see fit, right? But what's interesting is that one of the synonyms that they had for concubine was paramour, right? And if you look at para and amor, right? Amor meaning love, pair meaning by love, right? That's another word for a concubine. A lover, especially the illicit partner of a married person. The illicit partner, meaning one who is forbidden by law, rules, or custom, right? So I was looking up the etymology definition of paramour, which was even more interesting, right? Early 14th century, right? A paramour is a lover or wooer of either sex. It could be a man or woman, right? Passionately with strong love or desire, right? From the Anglo-French and the Old French, par amour, right? From amour, love. From amer, to love, right? Now this is the part that got me. Originally a term for Christ by women, or the Virgin Mary by men. So women use the term paramour for Christ. And men would use the term paramour too for the Virgin Mary, right? It came to mean darling or sweetheart, and wife, husband also in a bad sense. Now here we're going back to what I was saying before. If you go and look up, well, I think it was the American Heritage Dictionary, okay? Because really it's not about what definition is right, what definition is wrong. I'm reflecting on things that are being brought to my mind to bring clarification, right? I know what's being brought to my attention. These things just serve as confirmation to what already is being brought to my attention. So I knew right away the first definition that I had found was not what was being brought to my attention with regards to the definition of concubine. Right? Just understanding divine feminine energy, right? It's not that complicated, right? And as I described earlier, you can see how that makes sense, right? Right? I don't have to keep explaining that over and over and over. There's nothing wrong with a person partnering up on the physical. When I mean in the physical, I mean the 3D, right? You know, taking care of certain tasks and duties to make things work. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is folks need, the boast is at this time, our cosmic mother is removing this fucking boast amongst women in particular, where you think just because you got the title of wife by way of a marriage license that was imparted to you through a governmental patriarchal system, to boast against your sister, as if you are in some sort of higher, position than her because of that, is a foul on you, sis. It's a foul on you because you're not understanding as within, so without, as above, so below, right? You're not understanding the laws of correspondence. You're not understanding none of these things because what you're doing is you're putting the physical before the spiritual. And it's by way of the spiritual that the physical is manifested on this earthly plane. So please don't get it twisted. Every time you do that, you will find yourself in a bind, in confusion. And as we see today, a lot of things that are going on that are being questioned as to why so many children and adults alike are fucking confused when it comes to rearing children and feeling some sort of way about standing in their square about certain situations and issues, right? Not going to go into detail. Pretty sure you can put that together for yourself, right? So that whole attitude or whatever that one has to think that it's almost like a smack in the Most High's face. It's a smack in God's face. It's a smack in God's face as to say these physical things, anything on the physical plane can make you valuable. And then somehow you get a boast to look at your sister or your brother in a certain way as to think you're ahead of the game or something like that because of that. That's crazy. It really is. So when I was speaking on those things of the flesh, please don't get it twisted. Nobody's telling you to sit here and not do nothing. If you got children, if you are currently married or whatever, and you got a partnership, by all means, do what you know to do. All I'm saying is, if you've been one of these who've been boasting in the flesh, you know what I mean? Then you'll get what you need to get from this message. And if not, it's okay. you know. But I know for me, it's clarifying a lot of things. And it's not that you can sit here, what I want to say, I don't want to get off track, but yeah, I just thought it was interesting because it's so clear. It's like so clear that is the anthem now. Like you really do hear people talking like that, right? And I was even having a discussion with my child and we were going over this stuff, and I was like, you notice even in America, here in the States, right? We do have the stories of our grandmothers and grandfathers and people, even music, songs that speak to this, right? That people would like to liken to like a twin flame connection, right? Where our grandparents and stuff like that would talk about being forced into marriage, right? And they didn't really have a connection with that person, right? And the idea is that's selfish. Like you need to look beyond that, and it has to be about business, right? Whose business? That's what you need to stop and think about. Whose business does this serve, right? Who's the CEO? What fucking business? What whose business you talking about? The business of what? Right? Because last time I checked, two halves coming together don't make a whole. And it damn sure is going to have an effect on the child who is brought forth through those two halves coming together. So whose business is this serving? What business is this serving? Right? And then so much so that it be in these type of conversations that you'll hear other people use other countries as an example to tell us, well, you're not necessarily doing it right over here in America, right? Because you have all these poor statistics when it comes to your marriage, you know, your rates of divorce and things of that nature, right? Because other people in other countries, they are able to set aside their differences, right, for the sake of the children, right? Yeah, it's gonna see what I'm saying right now. It's gonna trigger some people. It definitely is gonna trigger, because that's you can't. It's so subtle. You really, really have to meditate, and you really have to think about these things. I mean, if you got to take out a journal, if you got to take out a dictionary, if you got to sit there and write these things out, because although we are intuitive creatures, don't get me wrong, you're speaking a language that is not native to us. So it's very imperative that you pick up a fucking dictionary and actually read these fucking words and understand when they were coined, to understand how these things started playing a part in the life you consider to be your reality. Right? Right? Because a lot of people are on autopilot right now. A lot of people are on autopilot. Right? Just doing things that others have done who came before them with no questions asked. And then wondering why, yeah, your statistics are showing failure. And you would think that would help you to question what the fuck is wrong, because you're not getting the results that you're looking for on a collective scale. Right? So this is just a little bit of, reflection, if you will. And we also have fun with the, when I was, going all of this through these things in my mind, right? And there's still, like I said, there's still room for refinement. There's still room for clarification. Like I said, I'm trying to go back and package this shit together, because when I get stuff quickly sometimes. And sometimes, and it's been more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's been really refreshing, to say the least, to just be able to not have to stop and write everything down all the time when it comes to me. Like I said, just understanding how energy works how it's not blocked because I choose not to write something, or if I choose to write it, energy is energy. I'm here, I'm present, even out of this avatar, I'm still here because my soul is immortal. What are you talking about? I'm not going anywhere. You know what I mean? So it's this thing, like I said, where some people, it's just very simple. Like, just because you don't see me on the internet doesn't mean I'm not here, right? So just because I get some information or I get a download doesn't mean I didn't receive the fucking download. Doesn't mean that thing I have not been like used as a conduit for that energy. I'm here. I'm reflecting in my own space. There's times where I'm doing that. So therefore I am affecting my environment. I'm affecting myself. I'm affecting my home. You understand what I'm saying? So anyways, I can go on, but the reflections that I received it reminded me of this old song that I used to hear back in the day when I was younger, like the grown folks be playing. It was called Secret Lovers by Atlantic Starr. And I remember the melody used to be so cool when I was younger. You just singing it and everything. And I remember when I got to an age and I listened to the song, I was like, oh, this is about people cheating on their spouse. Like, this is like, oh my God, the whole time, whatever. But what's cool about it now is with the awareness that I have received with regards to this whole, divine feminine energy, and even if it's possible, or if it's if it's just something that's supposed to happen in your life, and I say that because of our birth chart and everything like that. And it doesn't have to always boil down. See, that's another thing. It doesn't have to always boil down to relationships, but like I said, because of the indoctrination, the misinterpretation of sacred texts, the peering into sacred things from carnal eyes, carnal vision has got people really, really messed up out here. You know what I mean? So my thing was, from my understanding, the understanding I have right now, if it is remotely possible for you to have a divine connection on this planet, that shit is not going to take place without you first embodying that divine energy yourself. Like, how do you expect to find that in someone or to attract that in someone else if you yourself are not embodying that? It doesn't make any sense to me, right? So it should never be, I don't think that the focus should ever be on the manifestation. I think it should always be on, not on the manifestation. Yeah, not on the manifestation, but on the cause, right? To that effect. Like if you really get into that place of humility or that sober mindedness, like I like to say, you start to understand and see God. Even as the sacred texts say that nothing but the pure in heart shall see God. You start to see God in a sense like you can't bamboozle the Most High. You can't sit here and strong arm and manipulate as to say, hey, if you send me this man or this woman into my life, I'm gonna be a better person. It don't work like that. What you're gonna do is end up getting a scenario that's gonna teach you it don't work like that, right? Which kind of makes me think about when people say, hey, be careful of what you ask for, because you really not understanding how these things work, and it, like I said, again, it's not to say that you can't have that, but from my experience, that's not the end all. Like when you get to that divine union within yourself, nothing tops that. So it's more like you be in a position of being like, if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. either way, I'm good because I haven't lost this. This is what I don't want to lose. Is this oneness within myself of feeling whole and complete. You know what I mean? In myself. So much that I look forward to that unfolding in the physical. However, that would be, however that unfolds. But by no means am I out here feeling like, oh, I have to be loved by another person and I have to be doted on by another person and a man must claim me as his wife, and if he doesn't claim me as his wife, then I'm nothing and I'm invaluable. That's a smack in God's face. That's a straight up smack in God's face. You know what I mean? It's a straight up smack in the face. Right? Because it's as if you're saying you're inadequate, right? To the person who made you, right? And all I can hear is like, who told you that? Who told you that? Who said that to you? Who told you that? And what made you believe that? Right? So, anyways, like I said, I get a lot of information. And I have a lot of conversation with my spirit team. They're always dropping stuff on me. So I always feel well cared for. And I'm, trying to, how can I say it? I know I'll be guided and given further clarity as to what to do or whatever. But for now, like I said, I've been getting a lot of downloads. And if I need to speak it, I'll speak it, reflect on it or whatever. Channel it, but sometimes I just don't get to write it or whatever, and I don't think I'm not being pressed about that, right? I'm not being pressed about that. So I was reminded of the song Secret Lovers, right, by Atlantic Star. Okay, so I'm just gonna give my commentary on it, or the what I'm hearing from the lyrics, right? So Secret Lovers by Atlantic Star. Here we are, the two of us together, taking this crazy chance to be all alone, right? So the act is deemed illicit by law, rules, or customs. This is why this chance is considered to be crazy, right? We both know that we should not be together because of the laws, the rules, or the custom of the land. Because if they found out, right, it's safe to assume they're married, right? It could mess up both our happy homes. However, that's a lie. If the home was happy, why the need for a secret lover? And then it goes on to say, I hate to think about us all meeting up together, right? That's because energy doesn't lie. So although secret, it is really... Energy doesn't lie. So although secret, is it really? If the vibe reflects our truth when we're around each other, and so as soon as I look at you, it would show on my face, then they'll know that we've been loving each other. They can never know, oh no, we can't leave a trace, 'cause it's forbidden by law, right? Secret lovers, that's what we are. We shouldn't be together, but we can't let it go. Oh no, because we love each other. So the vibe doesn't lie. It's effortless. So much so, we have to love in secret because we've been convinced that a divine connection is unlawful in the sight of God, as if God is not the discerner of hearts. Sitting at home, I do nothing all day. That's because suppressing one's soul expression leads to stagnation. Indecisiveness can only be subdued by knowing yourself, so you can identify what you deserve so it can be received. But think about you and hope that you're okay. Our connection is real, so it's hard to deny the obvious. My heart wishes you the best, even though I long to be by your side. Hoping you'll call before anyone gets home. It's ironic how the connection is so deep that the little bit of time we spend together fuels us to deal with the illusions of life when apart. And so I'll wait anxiously alone by the phone. How could something so wrong be so right? Truth had to be turned to a lie, and lie has now become the truth, and it's painstaking to uphold the lie because the laws of man. I wish we didn't have to keep our love out of sight. I hate pretending. Living two lives just ain't easy at all. God is not the author of this confusion. You're serving two masters, and one is going to be neglected. Here we see the neglect of self-love in honor of the laws of man. But we gotta hang on, and after fall, secret lovers, that's what we are, trying so hard to hide the way we feel, 'cause we both belong to someone else. Since when has God given us the right to be owned or to own another? The secret love is difficult to hide because it's natural to our being, and we're pretending that it's not. But we can't let it go, because what we feel is oh so real, so real. You and me, are we fair? Is this cruel, or do we care? Unsure and thus indecisive is warranted. It makes sense. Can they tell what's in our minds? Maybe our partners are just waiting for us to be real with them, because how we feel isn't really concealed. Maybe they've had their secret love all of the time. Maybe they've found something just as real, and possibly why we continue in this entanglement, because no one wants to be honest. In the middle of making love, we notice the time. When we're together, time doesn't exist, which speaks to the core of who we are, immortal souls. We both get nervous because it's way after 9, but the laws of man suck us back to the reality of the matrix. Even though we hate it, we know it's time that we have to go. We have to go since what we want is not made clear to the mind. We gotta be careful so that no one will know. It's not our intent to hurt our partners, so if we're going to be in between, let us be discreet about it. That's pretty much, this is the interpretation I'm hearing in light of the divine feminine energy and the divine masculine energy that I'm understanding at this time, based on the union that takes place within the individual, especially the woman. Secret lovers, that's what we are, trying so hard to hide the way we feel, because we both belong to someone else, but we can't let it go, because what we feel is also real, so real. So I know I'm kind of reminded that like this has been a momentum has been building for me, for the clarity that's been coming at this time slowly, so I'm just grateful how these things are opened up to my mind, just to help me clarify what the hell is going on around me, so I'm not confused by or sizing myself up against other people. And I just hope that whoever this is meant to hear, whoever's meant to hear this, that they are encouraged too, because I don't think people understand the gravity of strongholds on people that prevent them from their awareness of self. And it seems like one of the biggest issues is the connection we have to other people, primarily our partners, because they play such a big role in how we choose to live our lives, and the decisions we make on a daily basis, and how we, plan our schedule, and so on and so forth. They just become such a key component. And it's like, if you have someone who is suffering, right? If you love them, you want them to heal. You want to give them the antidote to heal from whatever is ailing them, right? And so a lot of times folks don't even realize that a lot of the issues that they're dealing are, a lot of the issues they're dealing with is matters of the heart, right? Because out of the heart, the issues of life flow. And if you don't really understand how you being connected to someone, so it's not really you being connected to them, it's your perception of what you believe you're owed to them that will cause your energy to be directed into a direction that is not going to serve you. And the problem is, you really think that it is. You really think that it is serving you. Like, you really think that it's serving your loved ones. You really think it's how do you possibly be the best wife, the best husband, the best mom, the best dad, neglecting yourself and not really understanding who you are? What are you passing down to your kids? What example are you setting for them? Right? You're setting an example of wandering. You know? You're just a wanderer. Like, you go wherever the like the scriptures say, you go wherever the wind takes you. You really don't have no idea as to who you are. Right? And therefore you settle. Right? And it's not to say that, oh, I wanted the better man or the better wife or whatever. No, you settle for a lesser version of yourself based on somebody's idea of you versus God's view of you. And the confusing part is that that person told you, that person told you, God said this. That's the even more confusing part, is that they told you, God said this. God said this. Right? Yeah. God said this. So a lot of y'all is doing stuff because you really think it's righteous and that you're going to get some type of award or pin or medal. I don't know, when you leave this avatar. I don't know what you're thinking. You think you're about to get... No, you have your reward. You have your reward of the community, the society that believes in these rules and laws and stuff like that, applauding you for staying so long in your marriage, right? Putting up with, suppressing your own expression of yourself for this family dynamic, the nuclear family, if you will. You got your reward. So don't expect anything else. I mean, if this is what you want, then by all means continue in the way that you're going. But if you know that there's something within you that is not sitting right, and you feel incomplete despite the fact that you joined yourself in a union that was supposed to complete you, right? That was the promise, right? Going before the priest, that person putting a ring on your finger, you putting a ring on their finger, that was supposed to make you a whole person. And somehow you still feel unworthy, unwhole, inadequate, not enough, right? This is a means of liberation. This is a means of liberating you to the truth of who you are, so that you don't no longer have to uphold rules that were never sent to you by God to follow. Never. And in actuality, like I said, it's a twist on things, because you have people who are peering into sacred things that have no business peering into sacred things or teaching sacred things. They have no business teaching these things. You have no business, standing as a mediator or the middleman, if you will, to these things. Because you really didn't have no idea what you was talking about. And if you did at one point, you lost sight of it, and you made the physical more superior to that which is spiritual. And that's not the way it works. That is not the way it works. This is why the scriptures can say, he that even looks upon a woman, right, who is married, looks upon another woman has committed adultery in his heart. Why is that? Because it starts here in the mind. It's a spiritual thing, right? The manifestation ain't the problem. The mind, the mental is the issue. The mental is always the issue. If you can't get control of your mind, your actions are going to follow whatever it is that you're thinking of. So the behavior is not the problem. The moral code, you upholding the moral code, is not what God is demanding of you. Right? God is not a superficial God where he's a fool by, or she is fooled by outward appearance. You cannot fool God. You can fool man who don't have a relationship with God and who is not tapped into source, but you can't fool God. Okay? You can't fool God and be like, I'm happy. He clearly sees the vibration and energy, you being joined to him, you being an extension of God, made in his image. How do you hide that? How do you hide that? You can't hide it. Right? So who you gonna serve? Right? You know? Who you gonna serve? You can't love yourself and then put that self on the back burner and expect to be whole by giving other people what they want simply because you're afraid to be different. Right? You're afraid to not be in the in crowd and to be talked about or whatever because you want to fit in so bad. You know? You want to fit in so bad. You know? And of course the indoctrination played a huge part in that. Right? Which is why, you know, it makes it so common amongst the, you know, society where, you know, if you just happen to, you know, move outside of that, you know, everybody's gasping the pearls, if you will. Oh my God, what? They did what? Right? Because there's a common indoctrination that has happened where everybody's pretty much on the same wavelength with regards to a program that has been downloaded into them to follow. So whenever somebody stands outside of that, of course, you know, it's gonna be like a red flag. You're different. One of these things are not like the other. You're gonna stand out, you know. So yeah, you know. So yeah, I thought that was helpful for me. That was definitely helpful for me with just. It's crazy how that definition of concubine, because it came to me because I know someone listening to that questioned that, because that came to me. It was like as if it was a petition. Like, well, does she even know what concubine means? Like, I think she got that messed up. No, we gonna clear that right up, and I'm gonna let you know why. And it was a beautiful thing because I didn't have to have that all down. When I receive it, I understood it. So I didn't have to question that part as to say, sometimes that does happen where I need to like check something just to confirm what I'm receiving. Like, okay, am I hearing this correctly? Because, you know, I just needed to make sense to me, like what's going on. But then there's times where it's so clear. I don't need no validation or anything like that. I know it's perfectly clear to me, you know. So if it's not clear to someone else, that's not my problem. You know, you take, you know, take what you can, and if not, leave the rest alone. You know, nobody's here trying to force anything on nobody. I made that perfectly clear in my disclaimer. I'm not here for that. But what I will do, like I said, I will share what I have received, you know, and then if those who are listening resonate with that, then you know we're vibing. I don't know how else to say. I don't know what else to say to that. We're vibing, you know. So yeah, there's more to come. I look forward to it. So like I said, I don't have everything figured out, but it's just nice to know that these things are being cleared up and making more room for the things that really matter with regards to my wholeness and my well-being, and having a healthy outlook on things. Because, yeah, that boast, man, that boast, man, that's the issue. That boasting, that's what I'm always hearing, that boasting, especially amongst women, that right there has fucked y'all up. It fucked us over. Yeah, in a lot of arenas. It leaves space for more ignorance to come in and play its role on seeding, misinformation for it to sprout and grow and act as weeds in our garden, our spiritual garden, if you will. But yeah,